For those of you that aren't aware, Wreckfest is a really cool racing game. Not only are some of the tracks very challenging, it just has really good racing mechanics, and then on top of that, if you want to, you can turn around and crash and wreck your fellow players in spectacular fashion. While the car designs are pretty cool and the paint jobs are not too bad, the game is always better when you can add a little bit of your own flair. I'm OneLastMidnight, and today I'm going to teach you how to create your own custom car skin inside of Wreckfest. This video will be divided into chapters. It does require some skill either in Photoshop or GIMP, and it is somewhat of a tedious process. But once you do your first couple of skins, creating new ones will be a little bit faster. Let's talk about the required stuff. Links to all the required items will be in the description below. And we'll talk about what to do with all these downloads in the next section, Directories and Tools. First and foremost, you're going to need some sort of graphics application, whether it be Photoshop or GIMP. For this tutorial, I'll be using Photoshop. If you're using GIMP, you're going to need to find the appropriate function that I'm using in Photoshop. Next, you're going to want to go to the Steam workshop for Wreckfest and download the following two mods. OneLastMidnight's How to Create a Custom Car Skin mod tutorial. Just search for OneLastMidnight, you should be able to find it. And Paint Skins tutorial by FFF BOMB. Next, you want to go to GitHub and download Breckfest. And finally, in your browser, you want to open up Wreckfest fandom wiki, and you want to have it on the section of vehicles. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button and the notification bell so you know when I put out new videos. Directories and Tools. It's time we set up the directory we'll be using to create our custom skin mod. There's a lot to do in this section, so remember that you can always pause the video or rewind in case you miss something. Open up your Steam library, right-click on Wreckfest, hover over Manage, then click Browse Local Files. The Windows Explorer will open where Wreckfest is installed. Open another instance of Windows Explorer to the location in which you downloaded the Breckfest files from GitHub. Extract those files into a separate directory and then open that folder. In order to make these folders easier to work with, attach the Breckfest folder to the left-hand side of your screen and the Wreckfest folder to the right-hand side of your screen. Double-click the Tools folder on the Wreckfest side, and then from the Breckfest folder, drag and drop the Breckfest executable into the Wreckfest Tools folder. If for some reason Breckfest already exists in your Wreckfest Tools, it's okay to overwrite it. The one you just downloaded is the latest version of Breckfest. In previous versions of Wreckfest, they used to distribute this file in their Tools folder. They no longer do that currently. So for some of you watching, it may exist, while others it won't. Now, from your Wreckfest Tools folder, on the Windows Explorer, click on Wreckfest. This will take you to the root of Wreckfest, and then double-click the Mods folder. Once again, go back up to the top of the Windows Explorer and copy the path to your Steam applications. It'll say Steam Library, Steam Applications. Copy that path, and in the Breckfest Windows Explorer, click on the navigation bar and paste that path in. This will take you to the root of your Steam Library, Steam Apps. From there, you're going to double-click on Workshop, then double-click on Content, and you'll see a list of game IDs. The Wreckfest game ID is 228380, that middle one listed right here. Double-click on that. Now you'll see a list of mod IDs. The mod that you're looking for is the one that I created, OneLastMidnight's How to Create a Custom Car Skin Mod tutorial. That number is 294-958-5732. Right-click on it and drag it into the Wreckfest mods folder, and then perform a copy. You want to leave the one inside of your Steam workshop, as well as have a duplicate copy inside of your Wreckfest mods folder. Now, rename that folder to something. I'm going to call mine My New Car Skin. Great, now that we have the tools and the directories configured, we can now move on to set up mod directory. There's a lot to do in this section, so remember that you can always pause the video or rewind in case you miss something. In the last section, we created the My New Car Skin folder, which was a duplicate of my custom car skin mod tutorial. Double-click on that folder. Rename the custom car skin mod tutorial JPEG and Photoshop file to My New Car Skin, all one word with no spaces. Then in the Windows Explorer, do a search for all Photoshop files, *PSD. In the Windows Explorer attached to the left, find a directory in which you can store these PSD files. I like to have my mods in a mods directory under Wreckfest, and if I'm doing a new mod pack, I create a folder, and this folder I'm going to call My New Car Skin. Inside of the root of this folder, I'm going to move the My New Car Skin PSD file, and you're going to perform a move. We'll get to the contents of the PSD file shortly. The car we're going to work on is the bumper car, so create a new directory under the My New Car Skin folder called Bumper Car. Double-click the Bumper Car folder. Because we're going to be working on multiple styles of the bumper car, create another subfolder called Style01 Red. And double-click the Style01 Red folder. Move the last two remaining PSD files into the Style01 Red folder. And change the name of the PSD called Person001 to Style01 Red. So that PSD file should now be called Style01 Red _ 128 by 128 _ raw.psd. Click on the bumper car in your Windows Explorer to take you back to the root. Now this should become apparent. If you've got a bumper car and let's say I want a bumper car of a red style or a yellow style or a blue style, you would replicate this folder over and over again. When I'm creating my mods, I do this purely for organization. This is not a required step, but I find it a lot easier to be able to find the files I need to work on if they're organized in a common or standard manner. In the left-hand Windows Explorer, click on My New Car Skin to take you back to the root of that directory. And in the right-hand Windows Explorer, where you had searched for the PSD files, use the back arrow to take you back to the mod folder called My New Car Skin. Let's finish the last couple steps of configuring these mod directories before we start working on configuration. In the left-hand side directory, click on the bumper car folder, click on the Style01 Red folder, and let's rename the PSD Style01 Red to be lowercase. I had put it in proper case, so I'm changing the S back to lowercase and the R back to lowercase, so that there's no confusion later. In the left-hand folder, click on the My New Car Skin to take us back to the root. Now go to the right-hand side Windows Explorer, where we're sitting on the root of My New Car Skin. Double-click on Data, double-click on Menu, double-click on Textures, and delete everything inside of this folder. Once those files are deleted, in the Windows Explorer navigation bar, click on My New Car Skin folder to take you back to the root. Double-click again on Data. This time, double-click on Vehicle, double-click on Bumper Car, double-click on Art, and change the name of Person001 Skin to Style01 Red Skin. This is all one word and lowercase. Double-click on your newly renamed folder and delete everything inside of it. And finally, the last part, inside of that Windows Explorer, click on the bumper car in the Explorer navigation, double-click on Part, double-click on Paint, and change the Person01 Skin to be the Style01 Red Skin. So that file should read style01redskin.vepa. And that concludes setting up the mod directory, and now we're ready to work on configuring the mod. Configuring the mod. There's a lot to do in this section, so remember that you can always pause the video or rewind in case you miss something. Let's start configuring the mod. On my screen, I have two directories open. If you follow the previous steps, there'll be the directories that we had open last, which is the mod folder for Wreckfest on the right-hand side, and my place where I'm storing my source mod files for graphics on the left-hand side. We need to open this MODI file. And if you've never opened the MODI file before, it'll have no association to it, and it won't know what application to use to open it up. Inside the Windows Explorer on the right-hand side, click in the navigation bar and copy the path to the Wreckfest directory. On the left-hand side Windows Explorer, paste in that path to the Wreckfest directory. This is just so you can get to the bag edit directory, sitting right here. Bag edit community is what reads the MOD files. So go ahead and copy the path to the bag edit on the left-hand side of the Windows Explorer. We're going to need it in a minute. On the mod MOD file that's in the right-hand side folder, right-click on it and click Open With and choose another application. We're going to scroll down for More Apps and have a checkbox that says always use this app to open the MOD files. And then we're going to click on Look for another app on this PC. And we're going to take that path that we copied to the bag edit, and we're just going to go ahead and paste it in and hit Enter. And that will take us to the bag edit community.exe. Go ahead and click Open. It's going to open up the modinfo.modi file, and you can see the information of the mod now. You might get a dialog that pops up and says, delete empty folders. Say no to delete empty folders. We want to preserve these empty folders that are sitting inside of our new mod. You'll notice that there is information about my mod. This is the mod you downloaded to help you create this new custom skin mod. So we're going to change some information. We're going to change the name of the mod to my new car skin. And inside of the preview image, this is the preview image right here. We're going to copy that particular file name, which is just my new car skin. But make sure you pay attention to capitalizations, because everything in here is needs to be exact. So if you have capitalization, whether it's some proper case or some sort of camel casing or lower casing, you need to replicate it exactly when you're putting these values in. For the description, we're just going to get rid of the description, and we'll just add in some text in here that says another car skin mod pack. We're going to set the visibility of the mod to hidden. The tag for the mod is going to be a skin. It's going to be a car skin. And then we're also going to change the publisher ID to 0. If you try to publish with my publisher ID, you're going to wind up getting errors. So make sure you switch it to 0, because when we publish this mod, then it'll create a brand new publish ID that will be associated to this specific mod pack. Now, the preview image is what gets displayed inside of Steam when somebody is looking for your mod. So this is what you found when looking for my mod. So let's go ahead and change that graphic so that you can have a custom splash screen for your mod. On the left-hand side, Windows Explorer, go back 2 directories, and that should take you back to the root of where you had your source files for the PSD. Now, this will open up in Photoshop if you have Photoshop. You can also open up a PSD file in GIMP if you have GIMP. When the PSD file opens up, you'll notice that I created a generic splash screen for your mod. The text up here is just whatever you want to call your mod, and you can have it styled any way you like. The some screenshot is just some image that you're going to put in association with this mod. So let's go ahead and export this file out. Now, my save location is different, and we can easily get back to the save location of the source file by opening up that left-hand Windows Explorer and copying the path, and then going in and putting that path in the export box. So now that we can export into the correct directory for this particular skin splash screen. So let's go ahead and copy our brand new splash screen for the mod into the mod folder. We're just going to right-click, drag, and do a copy and overwrite the existing one that is there, and then just double-check that the mod has the correct splash screen, and it does. Open up Bag Edit again, and let's look at our data one more time. So we've got the name, new car skin, we've got the preview image correct, we've got the description correct, it's hidden, it's a skin, and it's 0. This is perfect. Go ahead and click on File inside of Bag Edit and do Save All. The next thing that we want to do is we want to make the icon for the skin that's going to display inside of the game. I'll show you what that's going to look like, because inside of our splash screen, I've already got the bumper car selected, and you can see on the bottom down here, I have this little thing that says person 1. This could be text. It could be some sort of graphic element. It doesn't really matter what it is, but we're going to make that right now so that when we load up Wreckfest, we're going to see our new icon. On the left-hand side of the screen where we've got our source files for our graphics, go ahead and double-click on bumper car, click on style01 red, and then open up the style01 red underscore 128 by 128 underscore raw. That's going to open up a template for you that's got some text in it, but you could change this to anything you want. And also, once again, if you want to drop an image on here, you can do that as well. We're going to call this style01 red. Now, I highly recommend that you leave the text white, because it just displays a lot better inside of Wreckfest if it's white. Go ahead and save the PSD file, and then we're going to go File, Export, and we're going to export this as a PNG file of 24-bit. Now, if you're inside of Photoshop, you're just going to see PNG. If you wanted it smaller, you would check this for an 8-bit. Otherwise, the default is 24-bit. So just go ahead and export that file out. And we're going to export it onto the location of where we have the source files. So make sure, once again, that you've got that path to be able to drop in and change the directory so we can save this particular style file in the correct location. With that saved, if we go back to the directory, we can now see style01 red has been created where our source PSD files are located. On the right-hand Windows Explorer, where the mod is located, we want to navigate into Data, Menu, Textures, and Textures will be blank, but we're going to copy that style01 red file in here. Make sure that you leave the name the way that it is. You can have whatever you want up to this first underscore, but make sure you leave the underscore 128 by 128 underscore raw in place. Now that we have that selected, this is where Breckfest comes in. We already have 2 Windows Explorers open. Honestly, that's enough, but we're going to need a third one open. And that third one needs to be pointed to the Directories Tools directory where our Breckfest is located. Going back to the right-hand side where we're in Data, Menus, Textures, and we've got our new style PNG, left-click and drag and drop that file on top of breckfest.exe. Breckfest is then going to perform a process and convert that image into a BMap image. That BMap image is going to be used by Wreckfest in order to display that icon. All right, before we go any farther, we're going to need to copy over the actual game files that are used as the skin and put it into our skin folder. So let's go ahead and go back to the root of our mod, My New Car Skin. And we're going to open up Data, we're going to open up Vehicle, Bumper Car, and we're going to open up Art. And then we're going to have that directory that we created, which is style01 red skin. And we're going to open that up. And it's empty, completely empty. And that's fine. Now we opened up that extra Windows Explorer that had the tools, which got us to Breckfest. But let's go ahead and navigate in here a little bit as well. Let's go ahead and click on Wreckfest itself. Click on Data. Click on Vehicles. And the vehicle that we're looking for is called Bumper Car. Now this doesn't make much sense. It's a little bit gobbledygook. What does American 37 mean? Or what does European 37 mean? Or what does any of that mean? This is where the Wreckfest fandom vehicles page comes in place. So if you open up that website, you'll see a list of vehicles that's in here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to scroll down until we find the bumper car and click on the bumper car. Inside of this page, where you'll see a picture of the bumper car and maybe a little bit of information, will also be file name. That's going to tell you the directory that you need to look in to find your car. I'll give you another example. If we chose, let's say, the Outlaw, you can see that it's actually called 30_American. So if you wanted to change the skin for the Outlaw, you're going to do that. We're looking for the bumper car, and we're going to work with the bumper car because it's the easiest skin to start with. So go ahead and go back to your directory where you had the vehicle data for Wreckfest and open up bumper car. Just go ahead and double click it. In there, we're going to find art. There are 6 files that we're looking for inside of this art directory. The main file that we're going to start with is skin01_C5BMP. We're also going to highlight the damage C5 right underneath that, the damage N and the damage S. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the skin 01_N and _S files. We're going to copy those. Copy. Do not move them out of the data for Wreckfest. Copy them into the skin01 red skin folder. Now that we have our vehicle, we need one additional file, and that's going to come from FFFBomb's mod. So if we go back into our Windows Explorer and come back to this path up here, we need to get to Steam apps at the root again. So go ahead and copy that path and paste that path in. And let's go back into the workshop area, into content. Remember that Wreckfest is 228380, so double click that. And then the list of mod IDs that are sitting in here. The mod ID for FFFBomb's mod happens to be 201.1819732. It's this one right here. So if we double click on that and we go into data, go into vehicle, we're looking for that vehicle that says bumper car. Where are you? There you are. And we want to go under art. The only thing that we want from this particular directory is going to be that custom PNG file. And we're going to drag and copy that over into our Redskin directory. So your mod folder should look something like this. You're going to have that custom PNG in here. You're going to have the skin files, those 6 skin files, starting with _C5, and then the 3 damaged ones, and the _N and the _S. And that is perfect. Before we can test this out inside of Wreckfest, we need to make one additional change in the MOD file. So right now we're sitting on the MOD file, but if you expand out these directory structures, we want to go to part and then paint, and we want this style01 redskin VEAP file open. So just click on it and it'll open up. We need to change a couple things. First, we need to change the manufacturer to be the name of the car. If you go back to the fandom page, the name of the car is sitting up here on the top. That's the name of the car that you want to use. That's the value that you want to put into the manufacturer. Display order, since you're using my file, is always going to be 999, but the icon is wrong. So the icon that we want to change to is style01 red. And then since we made a change to the texture where the texture is going to be, we changed ours to style01 red skin. There's one final value that needs to change if you're changing for another car. If you're making a completely different car other than the bumper car, you need to change this value down here to be equal to the value that's sitting on this folder right here. Or another way that you can look at it is it needs to be this same name. It needs to be the file name bumper car. So let's just go ahead and change that. Excellent. And now go to File and go to Save All. Let's go ahead and open up Wreckfest and let's see what happened. When Wreckfest opens up, you want to go to the miscellaneous and you want to click on mods. Now you see a list of mods that I have installed on my machine. The ones with the green asterisk next to them means it comes from Steam. That comes from the Steam Workshop area. The ones that don't have the green asterisk means that it's local to my machine. So I want to uncheck any of these mods that I might have. And then I want to check the new mod that I just created. So here's my new car skin mod. I'm going to check that. And I'm going to go ahead and escape, and it's going to ask me to restart. Once the game restarts, let's go ahead and test to see if the bumper car is now available for us to use. So here's the bumper car that I have. Let's go ahead and escape out of there. Let's select that car. This is a default skin. Let's go ahead and click on Paint Job. And what we should see down here in Styles is Style01 Red. Now, the Style01 Red, if you click it, it's not going to do anything right now because we haven't changed the actual texture of the file yet. That's our next phase. But for now, we're all set and ready to make changes to an actual car skin. I know up until this point it has been a lot of information, and that's the way making mods for Wreckfest is. It's just a lot of stuff to do. Once you have your directories configured, once you have your mod directories and the files in place, and you have edited the MOD file and you've edited the VEPA file, it almost becomes cookie cutter from this point on out. There will still be moving files from skins back and forth. If I wanted to move to a different car, I need to go back into the actual game files of Breckfest and drag those skin files into the new folder. But otherwise, the majority of the hard work has been done. Again, go back and rewatch the video because I know this is complicated. You'll get more familiar with it the more that you make skins. And as an example, I have my mod, which I do for the people who drive with me. And you can see that I've got various different cars. 18 American is the standard rocket that you get, and you can see how many skins that I've done for other people. At this point in time, you can actually publish the mod to the Steam Workshop. So if you right click on the directory that you've got the My New Car Skin, and then you go down to Publish Mod, it'll take you through the process of publishing the mod. And we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Before you do that, make sure that you do a Save All. So let's go ahead and publish the mod. Everything looks good. The name, the preview, and description. It's hidden, so nobody's going to see the mod when you publish it. So you can continue to keep working on it until you're ready to actually release it to everybody on the workshop. And then just go ahead and publish it. It's going to go through a little bit of a process. If you haven't logged in, you're going to have to log in. On the bottom down here, unfortunately, it didn't move the window, but it's saying that it's publishing the item. And you can see if I move it up, it's loading stuff into the Steam library and it's committing to publish and generating the ID. And then there you go. Here is the mod that we just created, My New Car Skin. It's got our little image. Of course, there's really not anything in it right now. And then you can see it generated a mod ID up here on the top. So this would be the mod ID for this mod. And if you've got some people that you want to distribute it to, whether it be the public or whether it be a group of friends, you can point them to this mod and they can download it for Breckfest. Creating the skin. There's a lot to do in this section, so remember that you can always pause the video or rewind in case you miss something. If you have these directories open previously from the past chapters, you'll know exactly where we're located. These are the source files for our skins, and we're going to open up the skin01_c5 file by double-clicking on it. And it's going to take us to something that looks like this. Let's go ahead and delete all the layers that are in here. Let's start from scratch. Now, before we can start using this PSD file to make a skin, we need to make one conversion on an image first. So if we open up our directories and our tool directory as well, we need to take that skin05c BMP file and drag it on to Breckfest. And that's going to create this skin01_c5. It's going to put some additional like DXT5 on there. Get rid of that. And we're just going to call it .png. Once we have that PNG file, we can move that PNG file into Photoshop. So just drag that PNG file, hover over Photoshop, and drop it into place. This is your actual skin. This is what is coming out of Wreckfest, and it's really hard to see. If we put a additional layer underneath this and we fill this layer with white, you can get an idea of what the body shape is for the bumper car. Let's go ahead and get rid of that additional layer. But it's not the greatest of information, and it makes it very hard to paint the car because you can't really see the car. This is where FFF BOMB's files come into place. So go back into your mod folder where we pulled that custom PNG in and drag it into Photoshop and put it a layer on top of the other layer. But now we have a better idea of what the skin actually is. So let's start working with this skin file a little bit. The best way to select this skin file and actually start using it is to select all of the black space. So you can use the magic wand tool inside of Photoshop and just click, and that'll make a selection of all the items in black. I have set up for anti-alias, continuous, sample all layers. So if I create a new layer and I happen to fill that layer in, you're going to see that it's going to fill in the black areas. That's not necessarily what we want. What we want to do is we want to invert the selection. And then we want to remove any of the additional black space, like this is a window or something. So we want to go ahead and select our selection to deselect and select out that little black space right there. Now let's go ahead and make a new layer. But before we go any further, let's change our selection to expand, and let's expand it by 4 pixels. I notice what happens is on selecting these with the selection tool that it crops it too close, and sometimes you miss a little bit of that detail, that finer detail. So if you expand the selection by 4 pixels, you should be okay. With the new layer selected, go ahead and fill in the selected area with, let's say, black. And let's go ahead and shut off all the other layers and deselect everything. This is going to go ahead and select all the parts, but this is not really telling you what part is going to display. Unfortunately, I cannot give you all the information because I don't know myself. This is a very simple skin. When you open up other skins, you're going to see a huge complexity of wireframes. It's really just hunt and peck at this point. And the easiest way to do this is with your magic wand selection tool, select an area. This looks like the body. Honestly, 90% of the times, this main area is the body. There are some that aren't. And this looks like the side of the car. And this also looks like the side of the car. These are probably bumpers. These, I have no idea what they are. These are probably lights. These are like little rivets or something. The little dots are rivets. But we're just going to select these 3 items. The main body and these 2 little fin things. And I'm going to edit it and I'm going to fill it with my foreground color. And right now it's currently yellow, but we said red was going to be our skin. So let's change our foreground color to red and let's refill it with the foreground color. And now we have a red body part. At this point, what we want to do is we want to have these bottom 2 layers off. These are for reference only. And we're going to keep that top layer selected, and we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Export As, and we're going to export it as a PNG 24. And the location in which we are going to export it to is going to be the location of where our source PSD file is. So let's go ahead and save that. Now, after we're done saving, you can see that our new file has been saved here in the location that we want it. We want to open up our tools directory, and we want to drag that skin 01_C5 onto top of Breckfest, and Breckfest will then generate a BMP file. We want to get rid of the little X that it put in there, and it should just be named skin 01_C5 BMP. We're going to go back to our mod folder, and we are going to copy that into our mod folder and replace the existing one. Now let's open up Wreckfest and see the changes inside of Wreckfest. You can already see from the starting screen, since we had the bumper car selected and we happen to have that style selected, that our bumper car is red. But let's get into it. Let's go back to the garage. Let's go to the paint shop. And there she is. There is our new bumper car. And you could tell, right? So these other parts are black. And you'll see that the rivets are black and all that. Since we painted the entire skin, changing the color and the livery is no longer going to work anymore. You can't change anything because we changed the main skin file. So be aware that when you're making a mod pack and you're changing the skins, if you change that C5 file, it is the new style. That is going to be the style. It's no longer this kind of thing where, oh, I can change the livery when I want to change the livery, or I can change the color where I want to change the color. It's going to be whatever style that you configure to be. For my purposes, I like it that way. I don't want anybody to mess around with their skin file by changing colors or anything. I want to have their own custom skin. Now, let me show you a trick. You can Alt-Tab and get back to any one of the files that you're working on. Let's go back to the Photoshop. And you don't have to close Wreckfest. But let's say I didn't like the red color. So I'm going to go back and reselect the red color. Or maybe I just want the red color to be, the body to be different color. I'm going to edit And I'm going to fill this as, let's say, my background color. Save my Photoshop file. Go do an export as. Export this PNG file. And overwrite the existing one, the red one that was there. Then I'm going to open up those directories again. Get rid of the BMP file that's sitting here. Take my new skin file, drag it on top of Breckfest, have it generate a new PNG file. We had an old one there. Let's go ahead and just call this skin01_C5. And we're going to copy that. At this point, actually, you can move it. We're going to move that into the Wreckfest mod folder. Now, if we go back to Wreckfest and we just click off and click back on again, you'll notice that it takes the paint change. So this is a good way to identify what part is what, or how to identify what part is what. You can make those changes while the game is live, just by going into Photoshop, making the changes, and then going through that process of saving the file, converting the file with Breckfest, and then overriding the Skin01 BMP file, and you can continue to keep doing that over and over again. If for some reason you wanted something cool in here, like here is my skin for a Rocket RX, and you can see that I've got some logos in there. I put a number in there. I've got some stuff on the roof. I'm turning that on and off. I got some stuff on the trunk. I'm turning that on and off. Got my stuff on the hood. These are little icons and stuff like that. And this skin looks like this inside of Wreckfest. So you can do some pretty cool designs on your car. It just takes time. You know, the hardest thing is figuring out what part is what. You can see Jeff Lee's car is really sweet. DBA's car is also very colorful. The toughest part is figuring out what this all means. Let's move on to the final chapter of this video, testing and publishing. If you have followed previous chapters of this video, you've seen this before. We've got the skin all colored, and we've already gone through the steps of creating a skin file and then converting the skin file and then putting it into our mod folder with Breckfest. We can also get rid of the skin01_C5 PNG and the custom PNG since we have them in our source Photoshop file and they're there as a reference. We don't need them here anymore. So go ahead and delete them. Now fire up Breckfest and let's go ahead and test the mod out. Here's the skin that we painted. We want to test it to make sure that it works inside of a race. So why don't you go ahead and click on custom event, and we're just going to choose Hell Ride. You can choose any track. Just make sure the track has something that you can crash into relatively quickly. We're going to select a track. This is going to be the track. We're going to select the car. It's going to be the bumper car, the one that we painted. The event options are fine, but I would suggest clear morning so that you can see the car well. Difficulty really doesn't matter. Summary, just letting you know all the stuff that's going to happen in the race. And then go ahead and start the event. Once the event loads up, go ahead and start the race. Okay, the objective of this is to crash the car. And so I'm going to get down here in this lower flat plane, get some speed up, and then just smash into a wall. What I'm looking for is how the vehicle deforms when I crash. So I'm going to hit restart and then pause it immediately and go into photo mode and then start looking at the car. And you can see some things are weird. The color on the car is not remaining blue. The fact that it's dented is fine. But why do I have white coming through my cool blue paint job? Well, it's because we forgot a step. Before we do our next step, make sure that you quit the current race. Exit out of the create event area and just leave it on the main screen. And let's alt tab back over to our directory. This is our skin directory inside of our mod. And we have the skin01_C5 bitmap. Take that file, copy it with a Control-C and Control-V to paste it. And then take the name of the skin01_damage_C5 bitmap and copy that. Then delete that damaged file. Remember, we are only wanting to delete the C5 damaged file. Don't worry about the N or the S damaged file. Leave those alone. Delete the C5 damaged file. And with our new copied skin_C5 file, rename that to be the skin01_damaged_C5 file. And now we have a new damaged file in there. Now let's go back in and restart our race all over again. We could just leave all the settings the same. Quickly go through that. Start the race up again. Once again, get up to speed and find something to crash into. Make sure you hit the wall hard enough to perform some sort of damage. Go into photo mode and let's look at the vehicle once again. So you can see we have our impact points now, but because we changed that damage file, that white is no longer creeping through. You could see that our damage is with the color that we're supposed to have. And if we happen to lose vehicle pieces, it will remain the color of the car. So just remember, it's very important if you happen to, during testing, see that when you crash, you're getting some weird paint happening inside of your vehicle. It's because you didn't replace that damage file. Once again, you're just going to copy and paste this. Delete this one, but keep the name, and then call the new copy and paste skin file this damage file. Just the steps I went through before. Finally, we're ready to publish. Now, we already had published this mod in a previous chapter, so we have our new mod ID. But when you're ready to go live for your mod, you're going to change this to public, or if you just want your friends to see it on Steam, you can change it to friends. And then you can go ahead and right-click on the directory name and do mod publish. It'll go through the process of publishing the file all over again. And when it's completed, it'll open up Steam and let you know that it was uploaded. You can see that you have two changes. If you wind up putting in the description when you are about to publish, you can put your last change notes in here and let people know the changes that you've made from version to version, so that when they go to Steam and they're looking at your mod, they can look at your change notes and see anything that you might have done. All right, well, that's it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, at least learned something. I know it was a lot, and I'm sorry that the video was so long, but there's no way around it, right? I mean, going through this, creating a mod for Breckfest is pretty in-depth, especially setting up in configuration. Changing the skin, not so much once you know how to get your mod folder configured correctly, but it was a big process. So a huge shout out to FFF BOMB. If you know, swing by his YouTube page, FFF BOMB. He's got a bunch of Wreckfest videos on there. He's also got a playlist for his mod, which is the painting mod, the one that we loaded in earlier. And that'll walk you through more in depth on the actual skins. He gets into the S files and the N files and talks about those. And then he also covers painting the car in depth as well. And then on the Steam side, make sure that you go over to his workshop items, because he's got a bunch of stuff. He does tracks, he does cars, he does all kinds of stuff. So huge shout out to him, because without his initial mod, that painting mod, we wouldn't be able to create skins very easily. Those wireframes are incredibly helpful in creating a skin for Wreckfest. Well, if you haven't already, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Would love to have you in the community. If you want to follow me on any of my social media, you can find the links in the description below, and make sure to hit that notification bell. That way you know when I go live and when I post new videos. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.